The views, information, or opinions expressed during Wrestling Winedown are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent any agency, organization, employer, or company.
Hey, it's Lo.
Hi, I'm Haley.
And we are Wrestling Winedown. We're here and we are ready to talk about everything that's happening in wrestling, including the latest on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT.
And of course, our word on the street.
Whoop whoop.
So grab your glass of wine.
We're going in for the 3 count. We are finally back on a regular recording schedule, so episodes will be dropping on a weekly basis. And you know what? In the middle of watching Love is Blind 67 times, we actually decided to watch professional wrestling. But you know what? Love is Blind is it, okay?
What a good show.
I love it. Lauren and Cameron are just so cute. If you guys watch Love is Blind and you watch professional wrestling and you love wine, please hit us up. Let's have a wine
Come
party.
be our friends. Like, these are the type of people we want.
Yes. So this week was a pretty big week. On Raw this week, we saw the contract signing for the Women's Elimination Chamber match that will be happening at Elimination Chamber. The participants include Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Natalya, Asuka, and the newly debuted Shayna Baszler. And Shayna Baszler was late to this contract signing, and Jerry the King Lawler, first of all, he didn't know his lines in the ring, but he was saying that Shayna Baszler was going to be a no-show, and Shayna comes out to the ring, out of the crowd, makes a grand entrance, and she goes and signs the contract, and she looks at all of her opponents, and I don't know why she stopped on Natty, but she stopped on Natty. Natty comes around the table, and they have this stare-off, and then here comes Asuka, who her and Natalya start getting into it. And then the best part of this segment was how Liv Morgan jumped over this table and speared Ruby Riott while she was sitting down. It literally looked like an episode of The Real Housewives of New Jersey and Jerry Springer in one. And I loved it. I'm here for it. I think ever since Liv Morgan has reinvigorated herself, and she had that storyline with Lana, which was, a little bit questionable, but now she's in this storyline with Ruby Riott, and the history that they have being, a group, the Riott Squad. It was interesting because then you have Sarah Logan there, who she's trying to break up this group that she was once in. Obviously she has to choose sides at this point. So it should be interesting when the match actually happens to see where her loyalty lies. Will it lie with Liv? Will it lie with Ruby? Who knows? Maybe she'll attack them both.
Maybe. But I'm really excited to see this match. I feel like a year ago we would have seen Charlotte Flair in here. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just so happy that it's other talent, such as Shayna Baszler. Like, that's going to be amazing. I'm happy that she's more on Raw now, and then Charlotte Flair is doing her whole NXT thing, which we'll talk about that later because that's still a little frustrating. But I just think that WWE is finally showing talent that we wanted to see all along.
How do you feel about this storyline that's brewing with Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch? Shayna and Becky had that 3-way match a couple months ago at a pay-per-view, and we saw that Shayna won the match, but they put all the recognition on Becky at the end of the pay-per-view, and we talked about how that really frustrated us. And I feel like this is almost Shayna's vengeance on her, like she's tired of seeing Becky Lynch, but honestly, like from my point of view, Becky Lynch has had this title for too long. Mm-hmm. It's been almost a year now. She probably has defended her title a handful of times.
But we haven't really seen her in a super interesting storyline since she got the title. Like, Becky Two Belts was the last time we really saw her defending the titles and being, like, a really interesting character.
She was really in that zone of being the female Steve Austin. They really hyped that up, and they might have overhyped it up to the point where after WrestleMania, they really didn't know how to utilize her. They put her in that storyline with Seth Rollins, which was a gag fest. And after that, it was like they didn't really know what to do with her. So they kept on pushing her as almost like a soft Steve Austin. Like, she wasn't being all rough and rugged how she was when Ronda and Charlotte. I think about that moment when they were in the back of the police cars, kicking each other and fighting. That's what we wanted. Yes. Now it's like she's kind of just been chilling. Like, we see her every once in a while.
She's like, I got the belt.
But now here comes Shayna. And, Shayna has this past in NXT where, she's the only 2-time NXT Women's Champion. Now she's coming on the Raw brand, and of course she's going to try and get the title. We see how dominant she was at NXT. But who came up with this storyline to bite Becky Lynch? That made no sense to me. It didn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people on Twitter. Like, what are you going for? Like, Shayna already has the look. Shayna already has the reputation of being a badass. You don't need her to get in the ring and bite someone for us to be like, oh my God.
Have we
Shayna.
ever seen that in wrestling before? Or was that like the first time?
We've seen people bite each other. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
That's just so
I think
weird
about
to
how
me.
Mike Tyson, I know that's boxing, but it has happened in sports before where people have bit each other. People claw each other's eyes out. They do all types of stuff, but to enter her into this storyline and have her bite Becky Lynch was like, honestly, it didn't make any sense.
Because then people look at her like, what the is wrong with her? When really,
but
it's just
Shayna Baszler is already like, she's already scary. Like, she does her main move. She puts the person in the submission lock, and she has no eyes. She has no eyebrows. Like, I'm already scared because the look in her face when she puts someone in that submission hold, I'm like, what is going on in this ring?
Yeah, she has the look. She has everything.
Yes.
This was just so unnecessary.
Before Shayna was brought up into the Raw roster, I was really hoping for a 4 horsewomen, WWE versus MMA 4 horsewomen. And we didn't see that. Now we see that Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke are still in NXT, but Shayna's on the Raw roster. So you have to wonder, like, where does it leave these 2 women? We see she's kind of involved in the storyline with Velveteen Dream and Roderick Strong. She's pretty much the main focal point, but she hasn't been actually seen within the storyline. So I don't know if they're going to keep having her there. I don't know what Jessamine Duke is going to do. I don't know, but please stop having Shayna bite people. It's weird.
Let's actually never have any wrestler bite anyone ever again. Thank you.
A moment that I really liked on Raw this week was the sit-down interview with Drew McIntyre where they talked about his moment. And as we know, Drew McIntyre is the #1 contender. It was interesting because I was a fan of Drew McIntyre when he first debuted. And we've talked about this before. He was Vince McMahon's chosen superstar. And he told everyone that he was promised that he would be champion one day. And then that didn't happen. And he was in the 3-man rock band with Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal. And then he got released. And he said that he remembers looking in the mirror and realizing, like, the only person that he can blame was himself, that he didn't take advantage of that moment. I thought it was interesting that he said he had to come back to WWE because he didn't want people to remember him as the guy that was playing the air guitar.
Yikes.
I really think that Drew McIntyre is championship material. I think he has a lot going for him right now. I think, like I said a couple weeks ago, he doesn't really have a character anymore. He's just being himself. That's really stood out to a lot of the fans, and they've come around to him. A lot of people before didn't really like him. They liked him in NXT, but then as soon as he came up to the main roster, he was a heel, and, he was just, no one liked him. They didn't like his attitude, whatever. They knew he was talented in the ring, but they were like, oh, that guy. But now we see that he's just being himself. He's very talented, and I feel like he could put up a fight with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar has had this title for a while now. We know the history with that. It's time to put the title on someone else. I don't know why WWE is in this mindset with the men and the women. Let's keep the title on this person as long as humanly possible. Or let's let them have it for 5 seconds and then let's take the belt off of them. It's like,
there's no
make it make sense.
So, yeah. But I really like this interview that they did because it was so real.
Right.
And it told his story and people could really connect with him more. Like you said, when he came from NXT to Raw, he lost a lot of fans. But I think that hearing his story from him firsthand will make those fans reconnect with him and be like, wow.
Well, he did mention, too, he was a boy when he started in WWE. He was 21 years old. He still lived in his parents' house. Now he's 31, 32. He's married. He has his own house. He's grown up. He's not a boy anymore. And I feel like that's relatable to a lot of fans as well. Over 10 years, people have grown up. They've progressed as individuals. So seeing someone on TV that they watch every week and, they enjoy in the ring, they might be able to relate to them in that way.
So Lo and I, obviously, for many reasons, do not watch the Super Showdown from Saudi Arabia.
They did have a women's match this time, which I probably will go and watch. We saw Bayley defend her SmackDown Women's Championship against Naomi. I heard it was a okay match, so I might go watch that, but the rest of it I can pass.
Pass, definitely. But we saw Goldberg defeat Bray Wyatt, and I saw the internet literally explode with so many emotions, mainly negative emotions. And, the thing about this that I mainly don't like is that most likely Goldberg will be the champion at WrestleMania 36 and could continue to be the champion from there. And, we don't know that for sure, but that's kind of how it's looking.
I don't know if I fully agree with that. Just because this whole Goldberg thing, I feel like, is really odd. The timing is odd. We've seen over the last couple months, even in the last year, Goldberg has kind of put his nose in the WWE rumor mill and business. We saw him with Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle and him got into some little confrontation. I don't know all the details. I honestly don't even remember it. But he was announced for the Saudi show to go up against The Fiend, and everyone was kind of like confused, which we kind of knew was going to happen. We had said that it would probably be The Fiend or King Corbin, and it ended up being The Fiend. But to think that Goldberg actually went to Saudi Arabia, he has not wrestled in probably a year, and he took this title off The Fiend.
Yes.
It irritated a lot of people at the time because The Fiend is being booked incredibly bad. He has this great character that we've talked about before. It's incredible to watch him in the ring. He has such great persona. You are scared, but you're also intrigued because you're wondering, well, what is he going to do next? He got defeated by Goldberg. That's what happened next. And now on SmackDown this week, we saw Roman Reigns get in the face of Goldberg and tell him that he's next. So it's official that Roman Reigns will be going up against Goldberg at WrestleMania. But a lot of people are saying now that WWE was really smart to put the title on Goldberg because it forces you to like Roman Reigns going into this match.
Okay.
And if Roman Reigns, they expect Roman to take the title from him because, you know, Goldberg is not a full-time WWE superstar. I think he's 40, almost 50. I don't know. But he's not in the shape that he was, you know, before.
Right.
I don't know if anyone really realized this. I noticed it while I was on Twitter, but he beat Bray Wyatt with just a normal suplex. Not a jackhammer, a suplex. So I don't know if that was planned. I don't know how that went over, but it looked terrible to lose your title to just a regular suplex, not even his finisher. But anyway,
I feel so bad for Bray Wyatt because his character is amazing. And when he was up in the Firefly Funhouse, that was the greatest storyline during that time.
Right.
But now he gets this.
You know what? I think about it, and I think the reason why a lot of people were irritated, including myself, when we were either online hearing about this or we actually watched it, was that it would have made more sense for The Fiend to lose the title to Daniel Bryan. Point blank, period. Like, the storyline that they had, it had history. We saw Daniel Bryan with the Wyatt family before. They could have painted it to be like, Daniel Bryan is not going to stop trying to get this title until he loses his goddamn mind. But they didn't. Daniel Bryan lost once, and it's like, now he's on to the next storyline. And it just is inconsistent. You built this story up that could have been amazing. It would have made more sense, but instead you bring in, granted, a WWE Hall of Famer. He has history in the business, but he's not going to be here after WrestleMania more than likely, especially if Roman takes the title like I think he is.
Like I said, lots of people had opinions on this, so Lo's going to read some from our Twitter accounts.
Yes, so we took to Twitter after this match and we asked, Goldberg is champion in 2020. How are you guys feeling about this? So at Thurtell Stevens said, what did we do to deserve this, in all caps? Which, yeah, I agree. Bravest Papaya said Goldberg, but legitimately I loved him back in WCW. I know he's not that skilled in the ring, but my inner 13-year-old self marks out, and I'm okay with him losing at WrestleMania, but I'm hoping this doesn't hurt Bray. He okay said powerful in all caps, and Big Steve Kell said should have kept it on Bray. So very mixed reviews when it comes to this, but now that leaves people wondering, well, where does the Fiend lie? He just lost his title. He doesn't get a rematch. Why are they screwing him over so badly? We kind of got answers to our questions on SmackDown this week.
Yeah, so John Cena returned. The crowd went wild.
Hell yeah.
Very exciting. And so people thought he was just going to come out and promote his movie, but he actually came out to say, you know, there's an extra spot in WrestleMania, and he's going to take it, and he's going to go against Bray Wyatt. And we've seen Wyatt versus Cena before, but we haven't seen The Fiend versus John Cena before. And I think that's like a very important part of it because Bray Wyatt wasn't this character last time they wrestled together. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited for this.
You also have to think, too, John Cena has not been a full-time competitor in a while. John Cena's been Hollywood. So, you know, people didn't expect him to come back to WWE right now. Yeah, he's big, you know, Big Show Cena, but we didn't expect him to be involved in WrestleMania. And there was really no indication until the announcement came up a couple weeks ago that he was going to be on SmackDown, and everyone's like, well, he's probably just going to talk about his new movie. It's not that big of a deal. And then we see now he's in a match.
Right.
I think it'll be a great match. John Cena brings people to wrestling.
Yes.
He has that household name that we've talked about before. So their ratings are definitely going to go up if they're using Cena in the episodes before WrestleMania as well as at WrestleMania. So it's a smart business move. But I do want to see if John Cena, what he brings to the ring, since he hasn't been a full-time superstar in a while. Is he going to bring the same moves? Does he have new moves? I noticed that he was significantly tinier than he was before. Right. So you have to think about all of that. How is he preparing for this match? That'd be a great WWE 24 special. I would love to get paid for it because I just gave them the idea. We want to know, what is John Cena going to be doing to prepare for this match, especially since he's been Hollywood for a while now. We haven't had him in the ring. You know what? Book it, WWE.
Yep. Let's see what happens. We saw another return on SmackDown this week. Sasha Banks came back.
The legit boss. And she debuted her new theme song featuring her family member Snoop Dogg. And I love the theme song. I saw it a couple months ago at a live event online, and now it's on SmackDown. So good going.
Yep.
She was out with an injury for a while.
Yes, and she recorded an album during her time off, so she utilized her time well.
Get it, girl.
Yes. Unfortunately, Bayley and Sasha did not pick up the win on this. Naomi and Lacey won the match, but we see a good future for Bayley and Sasha and more opportunities for them to win in the future.
Which leads me to question, where are the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships? Why are they not being defended on a regular basis? We see Asuka involved in this storyline on Raw, and she wasn't wearing her tag team title, and what's going on? I mean, we haven't heard from the Iconics in a really long time. I don't know if they're on main event. I don't know if they're in catering. I don't know what's going on. And Sasha and Bayley, they were the first tag team to hold the Women's Tag Team Championships. And, it's WrestleMania season. I'm a firm believer of all titles should be defended. What are we doing with these titles? I hope they're not on the pre-show. But I also don't want a 38-hour WrestleMania. So we need to, figure out something. Even if they bump them to NXT TakeOver and have someone from NXT go for it. We see Charlotte Flair going for the NXT Women's Championship, so why not have these WWE Tag Team titles defended on NXT? Let's do something with them. They made it such a huge deal that they were incorporating these titles, and so many people, especially women, were excited to get another title in the women's division, and now they're just sitting around like it doesn't mean anything, and that's what a lot of people feared when the titles came about. Well, what if they treat them like they're just, just sitting around, like no one really cares, and that's kind of what they're becoming. I honestly didn't even know who was holding the titles before I Googled it 5 minutes ago. That's bad.
We need to see them defended ASAP.
To wrap up our Raw and SmackDown coverage, we saw Randy Orton this week go down memory lane and talk about how him and Edge started being friends and where they're at now. And we know that Randy Orton attacked Edge a couple weeks ago, and Edge hasn't been seen since. Supposedly he's coming back next month or next week, something like that, because they're going to probably have a WrestleMania match. But Matt Hardy was involved in this somehow. He was in a segment with Randy Orton one week, and then the next week he was in a match, and now he's not even in WWE anymore, from what a lot of people are saying. People are speculating that he is going to AEW, and he's the leader of the Dark Order, but it's here nor there. I don't know what he's doing at this point, but how are we feeling about Randy Orton and Edge at WrestleMania? I mean, they have history. They're both very talented in the ring, and I mean, Randy Orton is definitely back on this legend killer type thing. Obviously, Edge is a WWE legend. He's a WWE Hall of Famer. He's held many titles within the company. And obviously, Randy Orton has too. But Randy just seems like he's very sassy lately. He's going to try and get into WrestleMania any way he can. He's going to attack Edge to do it. How are we feeling about that?
When Edge came back, he was playing very hard to get. He was like, no, I'm not coming back to WWE ever. And now we see him in a match like this.
Well, it isn't confirmed yet, but I'm speculating. I'm assuming. So if I assume wrong, we know who's an ass, right? But I'm assuming that this is going to be a WrestleMania match. We see that WWE is pulling out the big guns in order to make this WrestleMania as huge as it possibly could be, and it wouldn't be as huge as it could be without the Rated R superstar. We saw the pop that he got at Royal Rumble, so you can only imagine how it would be in Tampa at WrestleMania.
Right, yeah. The crowd exploded, and they're excited to see him again. I can already tell.
It's NXT time, and of course this week we have the Velveteen Dream on with a promo where it was announced him and Roderick Strong will be facing off next week in a steel cage match. This is going to be a great match. We've seen how pissed off Roderick Strong has been with the Velveteen Dream because rightfully so, he's been disrespecting his family. He's had Marina on his tights. He said questionable things about Marina and their kids. So I think it's going to be a great match. We saw a couple weeks ago that Velveteen Dream picked up the win over Roderick Strong, but he got attacked by the rest of the Undisputed Era right after, so I think he should definitely watch his back. Yeah, it's a steel cage match, but there's still a door. There's still a way to climb into the cage. True. And Undisputed Era, they're capable of anything. But I think the Velveteen Dream, he is ready. He's been out with injury, and he's coming back with a vengeance. The Undisputed Era ruined his NXT North American Championship reign. It cut it to a very
abrupt
sad end.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this. I love steel cage matches, and I feel like Velveteen Dream has been very bold lately, and I hope that he brings this to this match, which I have high hopes for it, but I just hope he keeps up with that character.
I still have not received word on who spray paints this man's tights. Please, anyone listening.
Lo needs to know this.
I love whoever is doing it is doing a great job, because it actually looks like Marina. It looks like Little Troy. It looks like Velveteen. You know how sometimes you get those like really sketchy painters, and you don't be looking like you actually look when you get your picture back, but whoever's doing this is just incredible.
Definitely. So this week on NXT, we saw Finn Balor come out and really ask who was going to step up on the road to WrestleMania with him.
This was a great promo. He really did a great job at this. He named off all of his accomplishments, the places and countries that he's made name for himself, as well as the different titles that he's held that he's made a name for. He really did ask, who's next?
Yep. And the Imperium came out and gave their regards from Walter to him. And it was so good.
Great.
It was so good. And it's just going to be so amazing watching them go up on the road to WrestleMania together.
We saw Finn Balor in not his last feud, because he was going up against Johnny Gargano, but before that he was going up against Jordan Devlin, who they have a history together, but Jordan Devlin is a part of NXT UK, and having him go up against Walter is just, it's so good. Like, I feel like I might cry because it's just so good. But Walter is seen as this, like, he's put on a pedestal, and rightfully so. He's just such a great champion, and he's dominant. He has a team behind him. It's almost like the UK's version of the Undisputed Era, but Walter is much bigger, and the people that are behind him are bigger as well. But this is just going to be an incredible match. I know in stature, Walter is way taller. He's way bigger than Finn Balor, but we've seen Finn Balor in the ring with Brock Lesnar. Exactly. So, oh my God, it's going to be incredible.
I agree. I am so excited.
Last week on NXT, we kind of got a teaser for this match. So, Austin Theory came out. We've seen a whole lot of Austin Theory on Twitter, but that's another story. So, he comes out. We don't know who he's going up against, right? And then Tommaso Ciampa, he's obviously pissed. Johnny Gargano screwed him over in his title match against Adam Cole at NXT Portland. So he is just pissed. So he's coming out, he's talking in the ring, and he's taking up Austin Theory's time, and Austin Theory is not having it. And Tommaso warned him, like, step back. Like, you don't want none of this. And he obviously did it again, and Tommaso beat his ass, okay? So this week, Tommaso comes out, and they have a match, and a lot of people online were talking about how talented Austin Theory is, which, yes, he is. He was an Evolve champion for a very long time until he came to the NXT roster and WWE signed him. But now, seeing him in this match with Tommaso Ciampa really proved as to why he was signed to WWE. Tommaso is one of the best wrestlers on the NXT brand, and he's candidly said he does not want to go to any other brand. He wants to stay on NXT. He's not going to Raw and SmackDown, which is very rare. I think a lot of people want to be moved to Raw and SmackDown because they want more eyes on their talent.
Now that it's televised, I feel like it kind of like has stepped up a little bit, and I can see why he doesn't want to move. But the commentators kept saying, you know, young talent, amazing talent versus seasoned amazing talent. And they were like, who's going to come out on top? And that was really shown in this. Like you just said, like they're both such good competitors and going against each other.
But I definitely don't see this being like a long-lasting feud. I think Tommaso is still truly pissed off at Johnny Gargano, and it's going to go back down the Gargano versus Ciampa feud that we've had before. And I worry because a lot of people, they like the feud. They've had like 2 feuds before, I feel like, because we saw them as a tag team, as DIY. They broke up, they got in a feud, and then I feel like they were involved in another feud, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But I want someone. I don't know if it's going to be Ciampa. I don't know if it's going to be Gargano, but they need to have a match where the loser leaves NXT for good because that puts a lot on the line. Then you will actually see Tommaso say, I'm not going to any of these other rosters. And Johnny Gargano's been on NXT long enough and he has enough star power that I feel like he would be a great part of either Raw and SmackDown. I think.
Well, we saw Johnny Gargano come out at the very end after Ciampa won and laid Ciampa out, mocking him and everything.
He means business.
He does.
He's the heel this time, and that's interesting to see. Johnny Gargano is a very fan-friendly type of guy, and having him in this role as a heel, it makes me wonder how the fans will perceive it now, having that role reversal, because Ciampa was the bad guy before, and Johnny Gargano, Johnny Wrestling, everyone loved him. So good going for NXT for changing up the roles here, but it will be interesting to see how the fans react to it. The fans did not react positively to this Bianca versus Charlotte Flair match that we had this week.
No,
honey child, no.
Everyone was on Bianca's side, and then Charlotte came out on top of this match, which is really disappointing. I mean, Charlotte's an amazing competitor, and this match was actually really good. We got to see her talent from like where she started at NXT, and I still think Bianca should have won. I stand by that 100%. I think that Bianca needs this storyline and to come out on top of all these matches.
I would say don't count Bianca Belair out just yet. You know, we have the confirmed match, which will be Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, but that doesn't mean that Bianca Belair won't get involved. And something inside me tells me that she will. Yeah, it was that she didn't win this match. I feel like if anything could have happened from this match, Charlotte Flair could have put Bianca over. We've said for weeks now that we think that Bianca's star power in NXT almost seems like it's maxed out. Like, clearly they aren't going to put the title on her. She didn't win the title at NXT Portland, which was extremely disappointing because, come on now, like, what are you doing with this woman? Now we saw this week that William Regal announced that the number one contenders match for the NXT Women's Championship will be determined next week. And the participants weren't named. But if Bianca Belair is in this match, it's going to piss me off. Because it's like you keep putting her in the back of the line. And she gets to the front. Then you her over. And then you put her back at the back of the line again. And it's like, how many times are you going to do this?
You know, an interesting part about this match is Rhea Ripley stormed into the ring after the match.
Girl, you know what? I saw this on Twitter. They were still fighting.
Yes.
And she did her whole damn entrance, stomp included. Well, girl, what are you doing? It's a running. You are not doing your whole entrance right
now. She's like, hello, I have arrived.
She literally did the whole entrance. And I'm sitting there watching the video, and I was like, did no one tell her this was a run-in?
Right.
Like, why is she doing her whole entrance? She was like, I am not coming out to this ring unless I do my stomp. And that's on that.
She's like, I'm not going to help Bianca until I get this in. So just hang on over there, girl. Just hold on.
I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking there. But a lot of people, they had to laugh about that one. Let's get into our word on the street.
We saw a couple of weeks ago that the Bella Twins are the most recently announced Hall of Famers for the inductee class of 2020. And along that, we're going to see NWO and Batista all be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
There's also some predicted ones, though. Let me know what you think of these.
Okay.
Sable, the British Bulldog, Christian, and William Regal.
I've also seen JBL thrown around. I have a lot of thoughts on this. First of all, the Bella Twins are being inducted, like you said, and a lot of people are happy about this. A lot of people are irritated, mostly men, and they're wondering why the Bella Twins are being put into the Hall of Fame when people like Christian and all these other superstars haven't been inducted yet. And I think it comes down to the influence that the Bella Twins have had. We've seen the Bella Twins in the WWE ring. They've won titles, but they've also transcended that to make the WWE household name when it comes to television.
Right. They have a show.
Exactly.
People watch them week to week. They look up to them for role models almost.
Right. They have a wine brand. They have a clothing brand. They're both going to be mothers. Brie is already a mother. They have what I believe makes them Hall of Fame quality. I think they've really helped with the women's evolution. And, you know, people will talk, they'll give their opinion, but I think this is well-deserved. But with the names that you mentioned, I could see some of them going in this year. I think the British Bulldog is one that a lot of people have wanted, and he's been brought up recently, but we haven't really heard anything. But I think now seeing that his son, Davey Boy Smith Jr., he's kind of been involved with WWE again. He's not signed, but I did see that he was doing something with Natalya and Tyson Kidd. So maybe that will push them to put his father in the Hall of Fame. We'll have to see. I think JBL will probably go in. I think JBL has a really good history in the WWE. Whether you hate him or you like him, he's been a WWE superstar, and he's also been a commentator. He was really the voice of SmackDown for the 2000s, the 2010 and plus. So I could see him going in as well. I'm not really sure about Sable. We haven't really heard anything with Sable. We know she's married to Brock Lesnar, and she's really been out of the public eye. So if she were to go in, it would shock me. But I'm not saying that she shouldn't go in. It just wouldn't really be a pick that I would see them taking right now. And finally, Christian should have went in years ago. I will say this until I turn blue in the face. I don't understand how Christian hasn't gone in yet. Edge is in, but Christian isn't in. It makes sense. Like, I've kind of been wondering that, and a lot of people, especially on Twitter, are huge Christian fans, and they wondered the same thing. How has he not been put into the WWE Hall of Fame? Maybe they're waiting for a moment that they go back to Canada to put him in the Hall of Fame. I think a lot of people have those different type of, I'll go in the Hall of Fame if type things. Right. So they might want to be inducted in their hometown. I know the Bellas are being inducted in Tampa. That's where they first started wrestling. It might have to do with something like that.
Interesting.
Well, I'm only going to do it if we're doing it here. I think that's acceptable. Yeah, people want to remember stuff, right, and they have those memories, and they're like, well, I want to be inducted in Tampa. That's where I started my career. Or, I want to be inducted here, whatever. So I think next year will be extremely interesting going to California to see who will be going in.
I agree. We've seen Kevin Owens come out before and talk about mental health and how he struggles with mental health and how he is a huge advocate for getting support whenever you're having mental health issues. So he is creating a shirt, and it's going to say, "Just keep fighting." And I think it's amazing because all of the proceeds that he's getting from the shirt, he's donating to 2 mental health organizations, one in US and one in Canada.
What a sweet man.
I know. Like, WWE does do very philanthropic things.
Right. They have Connor's Cure. They have Susan G. Komen for breast cancer. But I think it's really interesting when the superstars themselves take that initiative and they go and donate money to charities that are close to their heart. I know Sami Zayn has done that before. Good for him.
I'm happy for him.
I think it shows that, even if you are a WWE superstar, you should keep things close to your heart that mean a lot to you. Mm-hmm. Stay tuned to our Twitter this week. We will be on another podcast that we can't announce yet, talking about the upcoming Elimination Chamber. So at WWDcast is where we will be announcing it, so stay tuned. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Wrestling Winedown. You can find all of our other episodes available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and wherever else you listen to your podcast.
You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at WWDcast. That is at WWDcast.
Let us know what you thought about the episode. What was your favorite part?
We upload episodes every week.
Until next time, enjoy your wine and, of course, enjoy your wrestling. Cheers!